When you think of American gangsters, one name always stands out: Al Capone. But behind the flashy headlines of bootlegging and violence was a brutal war for control of Chicago, a mob war that shaped the entire Prohibition era. Al Capone was born in Brooklyn in 1899. As a teenager, he got involved with street gangs, eventually working under Johnny Torrio, a rising figure in organized crime. When Torrio moved to Chicago to expand his empire, Capone followed. Prohibition began in 1920, banning alcohol across the United States. But instead of stopping people from drinking, it created an enormous black market. Bootleggers made fortunes smuggling, brewing, and selling alcohol, and Chicago quickly became one of the most profitable battlegrounds. Capone was ruthless but smart. By his mid-20s, he was running speakeasies, breweries, and gambling dens. He controlled politicians, police officers, and entire neighborhoods. His wealth made him untouchable, and his enemies terrified. But power like that doesn't come without bloodshed. Chicago was split between rival gangs. The biggest challenge came from George "Bugs" Moran and his North Side gang. Moran hated Capone, and their rivalry turned Chicago into a war zone. Shootouts, bombings, and assassinations became part of daily life in the city. Ordinary people lived in fear, while gangsters walked the streets like kings. The violence reached its peak on February 14, 1929, the day of the infamous St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Disguised as police officers, Capone's men lined up 7 of Moran's associates against a wall and gunned them down with Tommy guns. The massacre shocked the nation, cementing Capone's reputation as America's most dangerous mobster. But here's the twist: despite his reputation for violence, Capone tried to present himself as a kind of Robin Hood figure. He opened soup kitchens during the Great Depression, gave money to families, and handed out turkeys on Thanksgiving. To some, he was a criminal mastermind. To others, he was a folk hero. Of course, Capone's empire couldn't last forever. Federal authorities couldn't nail him for murder, bootlegging, or racketeering, but they did find another way. In 1931, Capone was convicted of tax evasion. That's right, one of the most feared gangsters in history was finally brought down by accountants. He was sentenced to 11 years in prison, including time at the infamous Alcatraz. Capone's downfall marked the end of an era. The mob wars eventually cooled, but the legend of Chicago's Prohibition gangsters continues to capture imaginations. The story of Al Capone isn't just about crime, it's about how greed, corruption, and violence shaped an entire city. So the next time you hear the name Al Capone, remember, behind the flashy suits and cigars was a brutal mob war that left Chicago stained with blood. What do you think? Was Capone a ruthless villain, or was he a product of America's Prohibition madness? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more true crime history.